everybody. How does that sound? Can you hear us? Good morning. Just a reminder. So if you can hear me in the back of the room, we're just adjusting right now. More people are going to trickle in, but we would love for you who can. I know some have children and some are really settled in, but those of you where it's easy, you feel comfortable moving up, that would be great, and then we get, the energy in the middle of the room and not kind of scattered out with the center empty. So if it's easy for you to move up and fill in, we would appreciate it. Thank you. And we are going to begin. Everybody arriving on time. I want to acknowledge that we're running a little bit late. We appreciate you being here. We're going to start in 1 minute. Would you want to use the handheld? Meanwhile? Should we go ahead and use the handheld? Meanwhile? Yeah. Yeah. All right. Karaoke singer. We just need the music and we have a karaoke up here. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Oh, that was pretty awesome. I'm shocked.
Yeah, but
everybody's awake, but let's do it again. Yeah. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yay, great. Welcome, and we're just so happy that you're here. We're thankful that we're here. And we know that we're going to have an awesome day together. And I'm just curious, and who's in the room of how many people just came because you're curious? You have no idea what this is about, but you said, I'm just kind of curious and I'm going to go. How many people, that fits you? Yeah? Okay, good, yeah. And how many people said, I have a really goal in mind, and I think if I go to this workshop, whatever it's about, I'm going to be able to do it. Something I've been putting off. It's losing weight, my health, my heart, my this, my that. I'm going to go and I'm going to get it done. All right, okay, good. Well, you're both right, because the thing about being curious is that when we are curious and open, that is when wonderful things happen. When we're rigid and set and we're like, this narrow mind thinking, it's hard for those miracles and those things to kind of seep in and grab us, And intentions are important, to have an intention, set a goal, and you may do that if you haven't already as you move throughout the day. And clearly by the end of the day, you'll have some clear intentions about what you want to do, what's next for you in your life and your own well-being. So we welcome you, and we just want to take a moment before we start to just thank Family Cafe, Alex, Jeremy, and Sound Tech, and all the other people at Family Cafe who have made this possible, not only this year, but for 15 years. Can we give a big, awesome. It's awesome, and thank you. And just to take this time for ourselves and be in this beautiful environment. You know, the Orlando Hilton's not a bad place to spend a day, right? You know, and we want to thank the outside for, you know, just accommodating our indoor experience today with the rain. You know, we can't, there's no sunshine pulling us out into that pool and outside and all of that, and all the rain coming down and just bringing us more beauty, right, with the end of the rain. So let's give just a round of gratitude for the Orlando Hilton and taking time for self. And before we start, we also want to introduce ourselves and let you know about what our intentions are for the day. My name is Paula Lalinde. I've been in the world of disability since 1984 when my daughter was born with a severe disability. And her wonderful 12 years of life gave me my life, gave me who I am. It's a defining moment, as many of you know in the room. It's a wonderfully defining moment. And my world became disability, and I went and created Parent to Parent of Miami. I was the founder of that organization. And then I went on for 12 years, and I worked in the medical school at the University of Miami, and I was the director of the interdisciplinary training program there, bringing in that knowledge of family-centered care practices and interdisciplinary approach to serving people with disabilities. I was like the heart in the medical school. And then my heart kind of gave out, you know, I got worn down with that, and I had a yearning. There was a yearning inside me for something more, and I didn't know what it was, and I just walked away. I gave everything up. And that was in 2006. And I went on a journey that brings me here today to be in front of you, you know, talking about what I am now passionate about. And I had a life, I had a house, my son was doing well, he was going off to college, you know, and I had really transcended a lot of the death of my daughter and so forth, and I had a life. But then I went on and I began to have a mind, body, spirit understanding of who I am as a person and who you are, who each of us are as a person, and how to bring well-being into my life and into the lives of everybody I touch through the understanding that I get to share with you today. So my life went from a good life, I had no complaints, anybody looking at my life would say she has a good life, to really an awesome life, an awesome life. And I just am grateful to be here and being able to share and giving that gift forward, and that understanding of who we are and what we can become and what we can transcend and let go of, because it's all here, it's all our own beliefs about ourselves and how we get in our own way. So that's what has brought me here today, and I think you're going to have an awesome experience. And this is Judy, who is going to introduce herself.
Yes, thanks, Paula, and thank you all for being here. This is my second family cafe experience, and this is very different because the last time in 2010 we worked with the children. I don't know of any of you who were here in 2010 at Family Cafe. Yeah, and Paula presented, and then we did the afternoon with the kids. And do you remember that? Were any of the kids here? Yeah, or that? We're all kids. So anyway, Paula and I met on a mountain in Peru, and what brought me to that mountain was I didn't have children with disabilities, but I myself was disabled with PTSD, with anxiety, fear, depression, and it wasn't diagnosed. I was just kind of a strange person up until, and I still am, and I own that, up until I was 49. I'm 60 now. And I went through the medical field, cognitive therapy, Gestalt therapy, all kinds of therapies that are accepted by your insurance. And then I had to step out of the box and study alternative for myself because I really wanted to get beyond my fear and my anxiety and my depression. If I hadn't done that, I wouldn't be here with them today. So some of the things that we're going to talk about today are these alternative meditation and some of so we find that when you do cognitive therapy, it's just on the outside and you're doing a surface level, but when we get into the deeper, and I delved into that deeper place where it was holding in my body. And so we were on a mountain in Peru, and we had studied with some indigenous medicine people over the years. I was with the company, the Healing the Light Body School for 9 years, 10 years, 9 years, and I became the associate dean. I was so excited about this because after 30 years of depression and I stepped into meditation and other alternatives, it changed my life. So I'm passionate about that. So Paula and I were standing on this mountain, 17,000 feet, where you can barely catch your breath. And we were looking out over this lagoon, and Paula looked at me and I looked at her and she said, "We're going to work together." And that was in 2010. And in November, she invited me. She said, "Where are you, Judy?" I said, "Well, I'm in Florida." She said, "Well, can you come to Orlando?" I said, "I'd love to. What's happening?" And that's when she told me about Family Cafe. It's been such a blessing to know Paula and to work with her. And so I guess without further ado, let's carry on, shall we?
We shall, and we want to clarify our intentions with you today. And one is to bring forth information that is evidence-based. It is based on research. So nothing that we're talking about today is not fact. It is evidence-based, and that's our commitment. That was our intention in putting this program together. The other intention was to create processes that help you move from thinking about things to doing things, right? To doing something about it. Also processes that bring those aha moments. So we think we know ourselves really well, and then we get to have aha moments. Oh, I didn't know that about myself. No wonder I've been doing that for years. So as we have aha moments, we begin to change how it is that we have what we do in our daily lives, what actions that we take. So that was our intention in creating it. And our intention today is to be with each and every one of you fully present and to help facilitate your own discovery. Because there is no wizard. You know, the wizard is fake, you know. So we're going to go in and realize that we have all of this within ourselves. And as we begin to tap into that, we are led into things and people and situations that bring us exactly what we are looking for. So that's part of our intention today. And Judy?
I'm on my karaoke mic. Well, my intention today is to be absolutely present with all of you here and give you my undivided 100% attention. Because we have a heck of a lot of stuff in here that we want to share with you. And we want it to be hands-on, experiential. We don't want to just stand up here talking at you. We want you to have an experience. So our commitment is to you to have an experience with us today. So as I give you my undivided attention, as Paula gives you hers, we ask that you give your undivided attention as well. Can we do that? You guys? Yeah, you're here. You may as well, right? Thank you. The second thing is, in order for us to go to the edge of the cliff, that's pretty scary, isn't it? So we want to create a safe environment for us to do that. Now, safe environments for people with PTSD, anxiety, depression, and whatever you got, because we all got it, we need a safe place. So let's set our intention as a group to create a safe place for everyone to explore the edge and to go over the edge so that we can learn something new about ourselves and discover that health that lives within us, that we already have what we need, and it's right here, right here. So we're going to have some experiences today that helps us go there. So we'll use your breath, we'll use a movement, we'll use sharing, and so that brings me to the third thing. Everybody has one of these, right? No? Who has one? A communication device, right? So what we do ask, so that we can be in a safe environment and 100% attention, we realize that we all have lives outside of this room, children, businesses, life, conversations, things come up. You can put it on vibrate, you can shut it off if you want to take that big risk, or when you get a vibration and you need to go outside and have a conversation, great. We say go ahead and do it. Please go out the rear door here so that it isn't distracting for others. The other thing is with your communication device. Does anyone know what other communication device you have? Right, our mouth, our voice. So that when people are sharing, sometimes we get to a very vulnerable place. So if we give them our undivided attention and we're quiet with our voice and let them speak and honor them for their risking, for their stepping out and discovering something new about themselves, you just may discover something new about yourself too. So we invite you to control your communication device. Thank you. So we have a tremendous amount of work we want to get through. We want you to have that hands-on experience. We're committed to you, and I know you're committed to us, to everyone in this room. Put your hand up. All right, thank you for being here, and let's get started. Give yourself a hand. All right. Paula.
All right. Here we go. So, how many of you love fairy tales? Yeah, right? Okay. Absolutely. You know, we think of them as just fun stories and maybe with a bowl of popcorn, right? And to rewind it and rethink about our childhood experiences. But when we think about the fairy tales, we can think about them as maps. Maps, a way of information, a framework, an understanding about life, all the embedded meaning within fairy tales. So we're going to take you into one particular fairy tale to bring back memories, and then just talk about what the meaning is in that we experience in our lives, and that really are teaching moments for us every day. And then if I do it right.
You want to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. You find he is a wizard who is, if ever a wiz there was. If ever a wiz there was, the Wizard of Oz is one because of the wonderful things he does. You want to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. To what?
To us.
We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. We hear he is the whiz of a whiz, if ever a whiz there was. If ever a whiz there was, the Wizard of Oz is one because of the wonderful things he does. We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz.
Anyone that's their favorite fairy tale? That's their favorite all time? All right. Oh, yes. So you probably have a character you most identify with. Anybody want to say who the character is they identify with? Yes.
The lion.
The lion. All right. That courage, right? Muster up that courage. And we know I so identify with that courage because particularly having a child with a disability, it was like that's helped me find my courage. That's why I say my daughter gave me my life, is because I was pretty a meek, mild person, and then I had to go advocate and get things done for my child, and I found that lion within me in order to be able to do that. James, do you have a favorite?
The wizard.
The wizard, okay.
If you have a higher function disability or hidden disability, people often build you up and give you far higher expectations than you're able to meet. And I relate to the wizard that people think of him as so much more than he ends up really being. Just as so many people in my life have been given far greater expectations than I've been able to meet.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Absolutely. And we say that, I mean, my phrase that I use is that the wizard is fake, right? And I use that in that it is true. We set up and give really high expectations to certain people who we consider our wizards. And it could be our spouse, it could be an individual with disability who's, can see and do things and think ways in which we can't. It can be, how many people the doctor was the wizard in the beginning, and then suddenly the doctor wasn't so much the wizard, right? And so we give our power away when the wizard is outside of ourselves, right? So the wizard is fake, meaning that not that the wizard wasn't helpful, right? And he was a great psychotherapist in the end, and he bestowed everything that was needed to everyone at the end of once he was revealed, right? So one thing that speaks to me, and thank you, James, is that the wizard really is fake, and that power lies within, which was Dorothy's message, right? The power lies within. What did Dorothy do? What did she have the entire time? Because she had her red, right? She had her red slippers, right? And she just clicked them, and she went home. She had that power to do that all the time, and she didn't realize it. And we have that same power within ourselves all the time. And we just have to change our view, our perspective, and we realize that the power is really within ourselves. How about you, Judy?
Pick me. I can relate to Dorothy because to me, Dorothy had a profound yearning for a better life. How many have had a profound yearning for a better life? Yeah, somewhere inside of you, even if you didn't raise your hand, I know you've had a profound yearning for life, for something different, something better. And sometimes it's that catalyst, the tornado, that picks us up out of our reality, and it plunks us down into Munchkin land, right? And all of a sudden there's lots of colors, but there's fears, there's dangers, there's things that we're on our journey. And the Munchkins put us on this yellow brick road to find the wizard and find it. So this profound yearning and the tornado coming in, and then she's plunked into her journey. So I like Dorothy, because I'm kind of like her, and she was Judy Garland, my name's Judy, so there you have it.
And the other thing I like, the message for me is that everything that we think we need, we already have within ourselves, right? So they already had the heart, already had the courage. The courage was always within me. Somebody just had to say, Paul, I think you need to go to that meeting because you have a lion within yourself. It was like me, I spend my whole day crying. What do you mean? What lion? You know what I mean? It's like, and so it's like I went to the meeting and then I was like, oh, there's that lion. There she is. Always within ourselves. And we just have to go in and discover it. And then it comes forth. So everything that we already need is there. And so we think we need more stuff, and we, in our desire and our yearning, we go outside of ourselves to gather up more stuff, right? Shoes, how many gather up shoes whenever you can, right? Or more clothes, or more this, or more that, right? Yeah, but what we really need to do is we need to shed. Instead of getting new things and going external, we go inward and then we shed. And that's a lot of what we'll talk about today, is that we shed our old beliefs. We shed our beliefs about ourselves that aren't true. We shed, we don't obtain. So that's one of the messages for me.
The Tin Man, who can relate to the Tin Man? What did the Tin Man want? Do you guys remember? Heart. And what did the wizard in the end give him? He said to him, you already have a heart, but what you need, and it was, do you remember what the gift was? Lock it with a clock. Time. So he had the heartbeat of time on his side. So how many of us can relate to not having enough time? Yeah. And there's a lot to do in this life. And sometimes we want to check out and not do it. But sometimes it has to be done. So the Tin Man was a great gift to me in that I have time. I'm 49 and I can still live. So then we have the Scarecrow. You want to speak about the Scarecrow?
The fear.
Brain.
And the You know, it's interesting that I combined those two because I grew up in a family where there was so much ridicule about how smart or not you were. And so I had so much fear. And it was out of that fear and trying to convince myself that I really was smart, and I will admit in front of this group only, that that is why I have a PhD. And, you know, it was just that constant yearning. I was 54 years old, and it only took me 3.5 years, so I guess I was smart. And I was 54, and I started and finished my PhD related to all of my work at the university. It was like, oh, okay, now it's my turn. But part of that was proving to myself, you know. And sometimes, I love this comment somebody's made one time, sometimes we have more of what we think we're lacking, but we just don't know what to do with it, you know. Like Yolanda's comment on courage, you know. Sometimes we have so much courage or so much heart that we really don't know what to do with it. And think of your own children and people in your lives and think of them that way rather than what they're lacking or missing. Maybe it is they have so much of that that they just can't tap in and they just don't know what to do with all of that. So yeah, the brain is, how many of you think you're not smart enough to do whatever, you know? Have you ever felt that you weren't smart enough? Has anybody in this room felt that you weren't smart enough? You're in front of a doctor, you're in front of a teacher, you're in front of the lawyer, you're in front of whoever it is, right? We've given them all the smarts, all the brains, all the powers, all the wizardry, and we shrink ourselves into this little person. And then we think that we're going to get a lot done that way. It's difficult. It's difficult to get a lot done that way. So yeah.
And then there's the witch, the bully. She is the bully. I can relate to the witch because I think at times in my life as a survival mechanism, I have been a bully. I've also been bullied. So I know that witch that's the bully. And what is so amazing, in the end, the water, we've got rain today, melted that witch away, that bully away. So being in the flow of life can help us, and trusting that can help us melt that bully away. And let's see what else. I think that's it. Yeah. I mean, so look at how you maybe have been different parts, this is an archetypical myth that we all embody. And so as we go throughout the day, the reason why this was important to Paula and I, when we met on the mountain, we both started talking about the Wizard of Oz. And that was one of the reasons why we were standing by the Rainbow Lagoon at the base of Salcantay Mountain. She said, we're going to work together. Because we're always looking and longing for that place outside of ourselves, when the truth of the story is that we have everything right here. We have the courage, we have the heart, we have the brains, we have the higher intelligence. That was Glinda who kept reminding that happy, you know, I wanted to be her too. So, gosh, with all of this, I think we should keep moving. What do you say, Paula? And does anybody have any questions or want to share before we do about this? Okay.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to say that there was a good witch in there, wasn't there?
Yes.
And she, sometimes those people come in our lives to kind of guide us. So she kept saying, go this way, go that way, do it. Because we don't know which way, when you just don't know what to do. Even though you have all those abilities, having that other person that to guide you is a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll talk about this later, but have you ever heard of the disempowerment triangle? There's a bully or a persecutor, there's a rescuer, and there's a victim. So you really see it in this myth. We're also going to talk about how to transcend that later. Thank you for your sharing.
So next we're going to hear from Dr. Paul Kennelly, and he is an awesome energy medicine practitioner in Miami, Florida. But he is a wizard on what is the research behind this new science. What is the new science about? And so he introduces himself in the film. It's about 20 minutes. We're going to stop and kind of, share midstream. So he introduces himself and his practice. So I will leave that to Dr. Kennelly to do that. And we have him on interview. We interviewed him specifically to be with you here today.
Hi, I'm Dr. Paul Canali, and I'd like to invite you today to the conference Discover Health from Within. And today we'll be discussing some of the most innovative and possibly some of the greatest and profound discoveries of our time of how the brain, the mind, body interact, and how you can use those in your everyday life, as well as if you're a healthcare provider, how that can be used. One of the great innovators of our time is a man called E.O. Wilson, and E.O. Wilson wrote a book called Consilience, and consilience is about what we call evolutionary sort of biology, and that means what he was looking for is humankind tends to develop at different levels, where new information comes at a certain time in its development and propels it to a whole new paradigm, a whole new understanding. So he was looking at how does that happen? Where does that happen? And he came up with this thing called consilience. Consilience is an interdisciplinary approach, meaning that it's not involving one particular discipline, say just medicine or educational institutions. But in fact, the great developments come when we have the interdisciplinary effect, for instance, say putting neuroscience with psychology, or neuroscience with a type of body work, or body work with psychotherapy, or et cetera, that's the greatest and most profound breakthroughs seem to happen. As a physician, I originally started out as a chiropractic physician more than 30 years ago. And I had a great opportunity to go to Japan to work in 2 hospitals and also to work in a teaching facility. And there was the beginning of this understanding for me about the dynamics of the mind-body. So in my practice, yes, I was trained as an acupuncturist, a chiropractor, sports medicine, nutrition, those types of things. What began to happen very oddly in the practice, maybe 25 years ago, we started to experiment with different, what we call sensory processing, different ways of putting information into the nervous system, from very light type stimulations to tactile stimulations. And what began to happen is that people would come in, say, with severe back pain, but in the process would begin to sort of tell us a whole new story about where the pain was coming from. And this began to happen again and again, in that they would tell us that the pain seemed to be related to something earlier in their life, and many times things that were exposed early in their childhood. Well, this phenomenon kept happening again and again. Needless to say, it was very challenging, because as that started to happen, some people, of course, were frightened about, why am I experiencing feelings, sensations, and very often emotions? But what we found is that when they were able to process the information, the back pain or the neck pain or the digestive disorder went away. And that was huge, because now we began to rethink about what the very nature of so much disease was. It isn't now, to almost 25 years later, where that body of work has been sort of validated by our highest level of institution at the CDC, where there's this very famous study called the ACE study, and the ACE study stands for Adverse Childhood Experience. Now, never in our wildest imaginations did we ever think that adverse childhood experience could have anything other to do than maybe personality or emotion or anxiety. But now we're seeing that it has a direct link to chronic disease. What are you saying, Dr. Paul? Diabetes, cancer, heart disease, liver disease, etc., etc.? This is mind-boggling, and for me, it was sort of validation for all that work, because as we start to proceed, I started to get very interested in understanding trauma and PTSD. Now, for a long time, it's been a big question about nature or nurture. Nature meaning genetics, and nurture meaning how we interact with each other. Well, the ACE study sort of puts the final nail in the coffin on that. There seems to be almost no doubt anymore about the ability of us as human beings to affect each other and literally cause disease, and even how long we'll live. That's called morbidity and mortality. I mean, to actually affect the age. For instance, an ACE score has basically 10 questions, and questions on there have to do with being exposed, especially to early stress or trauma. Was dad or mom fighting? Was somebody drinking? Had you ever been hit? Were you ever touched inappropriately? Depression, which is amazing, it maybe even changes our entire model of depression, because the old belief was that depression is a disease, that depression is genetic, or depression has something to do with an imbalance in certain neurochemistry. And for the first time in human history, we're starting to see that maybe depression is a normal response to an abnormal situation, and that years later it begins to manifest. Because if you have a score of 4 or more, remember there's 10 questions, those people on those tests had 100% relationship between taking antidepressants. Now, never in the history of mental health has there ever been anything like that. In fact, there's been a huge movement on the other side where, when we talk about placebo, that as much as 80% or more, and when we start to look at all the studies, and we do what we call retrospective studies, that the positive benefits, say, of antidepressants was placebo-based. Dr. Irving Kirsch, the study at the University of Pennsylvania, is mind-boggling.
Okay, that's the beginning of it. And what are you hearing? What do you think he's saying? Particularly about the ACE study. What are you hearing him say? Anybody want to share? Yes.
Medications, that they're giving medications.
Mm.
And the thing is the way our health system is set up, that the drug companies control and have their way. Alternatives are not insured or paid for. I myself am wearing an Alpha stent, which is the brand name for a transcranial stimulator, approved by the Veterans Administration for vets who have post-traumatic stress syndrome. But our Veterans Administration is lying to our vets and refusing to give them these. And at the same time, they're recommending drugs like Risperdal, lithium, Prozac, Xylard, and a bunch of other drugs, instead of simply wearing an Alpha stent. And that's what the thing is the push of drugs to address the problems of depression and other things that happen when we have extensive alternatives.
Yeah, and that's what Dr. Connelly is talking about here. So thank you for bringing that up. Yes, and this is one of the reasons why Paula and I are so passionate about getting this information into the world. So thank you. Yeah, right on. Do you
Another
want to
comment?
It just sounded like he was saying that past, whether it's past emotional trauma, is that affecting itself later on in different ways inside the body. That's not
Yes.
Yeah, could everybody hear her there? Here, I'm gonna walk around and you can be the karaoke singer.
Do you want me to?
I can do it, and then maybe you can do it later.
Okay.
I want to move.
There used to be something about 20 years ago, and it was used to call codependency. I don't know what term they're using now. But one of the thoughts about that is that you hold whatever the trauma is within your body. And there used to be a lot of body work being done. Used to go in and hit things with the rubber bat and that kind of stuff. And it helps. But all of a sudden it disappeared. But yeah, we're way over-medicated.
So it's interesting. It's a way to release it really at the cause, right? At the point, at the source, versus medication is not releasing it at the source, but it's medicating the symptoms. So it's a nice combination of comments here. Yes.
I'm really I very much disagree with what he said, and I have a valid reason to do so. I live with bipolar mood disorder. If I didn't have breast renewal, I would not be able to sleep at night. I take lithium and some other drugs so that my life will be, well, more stable level. And as far as these other alternatives, I'm only doing, I have a journal that I have that I write in, that I paint, I exercise, I've started a diet where Curves Complete. So it's not like I haven't tried these other things in addition to what I'm doing. And lo and behold, poor Paris Jackson, I really hope that she's gonna be getting the treatment she needs, because she tried to commit suicide recently. So I don't think that, and I don't know whether he lives with bipolar mood disorder or not, but I think it's nice and all, you know, I'd be facetious for somebody to say that out of their mouth, but they don't live with the same illness that I have.
Thank you. I can speak to that a little bit because when I went through my PTSD, my anxiety, depression, they wanted to pin bipolar and manic depressed on me, and I needed some of those therapies. I'm grateful for, you know, I'm not saying that this is just another way to look at it, and I wonder what you would be like if you didn't have your art and your other things. You know, those go hand in hand with, so we're not advocating to not be in the medical community and to, Paula, do you want to speak to that more, that it's really a combination?
Well, and it's
I
also
think-
genetic, I'm sorry, it's also genetic in my family too. I
Yes.
have cousins whose child commits it.
Yeah.
Right, so we know that there's brain chemical imbalances that lead and manifest in what we diagnose as bipolar, for example, right? I think the interesting work in what he's talking about, it doesn't necessarily apply to you, but what he's saying is that early trauma, the ACE study, 17,000 participants in the sample of the study, primarily middle income, educated, male-female balance. The more at risk, and you have the ACE study questions in your packet, so you have your own ACE score, and he'll talk about it a little bit further in the video. But the more at risks that you have in early childhood, or your own children you see, the children you serve, if you work with young children or their families, the higher incidence of depression, but even like liver disease, cancer, heart disease, all of our diseases and illnesses, we understand more and more are associated with early trauma, early experiences. Okay, so we didn't have that full understanding, and it's increasing now. So what it means is, it means a lot about what we could do for our young children and our families and creating that safety net, right? But also going back to that source, and and to think about what is it about those early childhood experiences. And he talks more about it, so I think I'll stop with that. But anything else you want to share about what it sparked in you? Any questions or what it sparked in you? Yes.
As I listen to it, I remember my experience.
Thank you. As I listened to him, it just really brought home my experiences. And I want to address the previous comment. We have to remember that each one of us is an individual, and each one of us chooses our own path. I was in a place where I had received more medication and more medication and more medication and more medication. Nothing was being taken away. And for me, being able to find and having the opportunity to have a place that really offered something besides the medication, and the next thing, of course, was the brain was going to have to be worked on. We should all, I feel, open up and consider that there might be other ways, and maybe it isn't for me, but there's nothing wrong in trying those kinds of things because they're not invasive and they're not like medication, which can damage the body in other ways.
So should we go on?
Thank
and
you.
look something more?
Yeah, do you want to tell them where they can tap in to see the rest of this online? in resources, we'll talk about it. Do you, yeah, because I think we've got a lot to cover. Do you guys want to see the rest of this now, or do you want to go online? We'll give you guys the choice. You can go online.
Or would you like to?
Go online. What else you got?
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, good. Yeah. So those who want to just see it online, we'll give you the resources for that later. Those who want to stay in and keep watching it, okay, I think we've got, and then we've got those that don't care. So we'll make a choice for you, okay? You're kind of ambivalent about it. Okay, so we've got tons to keep sharing here, so we'll keep moving. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. Give yourself a hand. Raise it up. Oh, because of their, you can't see everything.
I got something to put under if you need it. That better? Okay.
Okay. So that will be posted, it will be a YouTube, and it will also be on Nothing Trumps Hope website, which is my website. And I encourage you to take a listen. So this is Joseph Campbell, and he says something that really speaks to what is part of that process of healing. And he says, we're in a free fall into future. We don't know where we're going. Things are changing so fast, and always when you're going through a long tunnel, anxiety comes along. And all you have to do to transform your hell into a paradise is to turn your fall into a voluntary act. It's a very interesting shift of perspective, joyful participation in the sorrows, and everything changes. And you go, wow, what is he talking about? A joyful participation in the sorrows. But when we surrender into what is, when we love what is, we don't resist what is, we actually embrace and love what is. It is from that place that we can transform our lives. We can move forward from that place. When we're resisting, we're holding on to the riverbank. That's not true, I don't want to, that didn't really happen. It shouldn't be that way. There's no way to move forward. How do you move forward from that place? It shouldn't be like that. I deserve something better. This shouldn't happen to me. That shouldn't have happened to her. No, it's just that it happened. And when we just accept that it happened, you come into that acceptance. You know, that was the death of my daughter. You know, it wasn't supposed to happen. And I slowly, when I came into that acceptance and that knowing that that is what was meant to be, everything changed for me. Everything changed for me. I didn't have to run the tape of what I should have done or what I'm going to do because of it. I really got to live my life in the moment. And when we live our life in the moment, it is then when we can step forward in joy and happiness and experience that moment and move forward in gratitude of everything that we do have. So it is just surrendering and love what is. Katie Byron is a wonderful author, speaker, if you ever have an opportunity to hear her. And her message is love what is. She does a whole, that is her message. And I think it's a profound one and one that has really spoken to me in my life. And you had a comment, yes?
I think, times Mother Teresa has addressed this time and again beautifully. She has said and lived in her own life what she believed. And what she believed and believes, continues to believe on another plane is very strongly take what he gives and give what he takes. You know, that total surrender, going with the flow, living in the present, you know, the power of now concept. And she's one person who has taught suffering people were drawn to mother, like to a magnet, and she has shown them how to find healing and wholeness in accepting suffering, and not only accepting and surrendering, but seeing it as a positive force, that there is an intrinsic value in that. Paul Brand, who worked with the leprosy sufferers in India, along with the Christian medical missionaries, he wrote a book on the use of pain, how pain could be a tremendous alarm system, physical pain, and in the same way, emotional pain and even spiritual darkness at times has a lot to teach us. Thank you.
Yes.
But fear freezes us.
Fear freezes us. Yeah, how many people can relate to fear freezing us, right? So how it is that we let go and we live fearlessly, right? And we say once we accept our own immortality, you know, we are really then free. Once we accept that. And I think when we have had a severe loss in our life, we have two choices. It's a Y and a road. And you either go into that place of fearlessness and transcend it and live an awesome life, or you live in fear and bitterness and you close up just like that clamshell, right? And we have that, and many things, not even a severe loss creates that Y, but many times we come to that Y in the road and we go, am I going to go down this road of love and acceptance of self and others and openness, or do I go down this road of fear, continued fear, and stagnation and closeness? So yes, fear. I want to speak to this a minute about Dr. Kennelly's work, because I think it's fascinating work, not to send everybody down to Dr. Kennelly, but just to give you an idea, a flavor of what it is. Trauma is trapped in our body, and I want to just speak to this from a personal experience because it's the only way, I think it's the best way to share the information. I had a chronic back pain from the time my son was going to college. He was the last year of high school going to college, right? So I lost my daughter, one child, one son. No, he was not staying in Miami. That was his mantra. No, Mom, you're not converting the garage for me to live in. I am leaving. So I knew that was, I started with a chronic back pain. And it would go out and it would be 24 hours of chronic back pain. So last summer, and I kept hearing through Dr. Anna, an oncologist that I do expressive arts in the hospital with, about, a colleague of his, Dr. Kennelly, who does, body work, and he sends his cancer patients there, and it's awesome, I kept hearing about this colleague. So I thought, I just kind of am curious, and my back went out again, 24 hours excruciating pain. Let me go see what this is all about. And I had already kind of surmised that it was about grief, because it started when my son was going to go off to college. And last summer, I had an experience of a potential loss of a very dear person to me. And it kicked up my back pain. So I went to Dr. Kennelly and saw on the massage table, and it took several times, but he tracks the energy in my body, and he pressed into where the back pain usually is. Is that it? Is that it? And he could feel it, and I could feel it, and I surrendered into the pain of that in order to release it. You surrender into it. And so as it began to release, it kicks into what is called, in an article in your pamphlet from Dr. Kennelly talks about it, into a super consciousness. I was suddenly at my grandfather's funeral. I was 3 years old. I never had any memory of my grandfather's funeral. And I was standing next to my mom and dad, and that casket was bigger than life. That was my initial source of grief. My grandfather, I had very young parents. They didn't know what in the world they were doing. And he was my father. And I saw him have the heart attack on our couch and never saw him again. And that memory, boom, it's there. It is within us. And I got to release it. I got to look at it. It was gone. Because if we bring it into our awareness, we release it because it's held within our body. These traumas are literally held within our body. We're both energy medicine trained. I see trauma on the body. I can see it. I'm a seer. Judy's a seer. We can see it. And we help to release it. It lies there on our neural system. So this surrendering is just a critical part of our own healing process. And it is also part of that process that can be part of this mind, body, spirit work that we consider under the umbrellas of alternative.
My trauma, actually, if I can speak to that really quickly. I was in an explosion when I was a very young child, and I couldn't speak to it because I didn't have language then. And so I couldn't ever put a voice to it. And it wasn't until I was 49 that I realized why I was so strange, why I couldn't sleep at night, why I was afraid of everything and everyone. And thank goodness for therapy, thanks for the medical community. And I also learned in the process of healing this within myself that I had a grandmother who was institutionalized. I had a mother who struggled with depression but didn't really want to talk about it. So I was alone in it. And so I had to find alternatives. And when I started working with the alternatives, and in fact I had the great pleasure yesterday to work with Dr. Kennelly, and he hit some places on me that I didn't even know were there. And so we can continue to grow and learn from our traumas. And there's so much available to us. The important thing always is to remember your own intelligence. You know, that we are not just relying on the doctors, but we have an intelligence of when to say, no, wait a minute, I need to slow down, that doesn't feel right. And Dr. Kennelly, when you're working with him, will say the same thing, tell me where you're at, tell me what you're feeling, what you're sensing. If it's too much, let me know. So always know that you have the intelligence to say go or no.
Absolutely. And knowing that what resides in our body and staying connected with our body, and that's part of the message, is mind, body, and staying connected. So how am I feeling? How am I feeling? Feeling and staying in touch with the body. So what we'd like you to do right now is in your packets, you have a form. It's on your right, it should be on your right-hand side. And it's called a self-care assessment and plan. And on the other side, you have the ACE questions. So it's black and white, the ACE questions. What we'd like you to do right now, and we can get you a pen if you don't have one, is go ahead and fill out those questions on the front side, and I'll tell you in a minute. So it's 1 through 5. Six and 7. So 1 through 7. If you just go ahead and fill out those questions. And just give it some real thought. Maybe think about things in a different way that you hadn't thought of before. So my current level of physical well-being is, that's the first question. And just if you don't feel your physical well-being is, you know, maybe it's very low, or maybe you feel it's high. So there's a continuum, and you just circle the number that reflects where you feel you are at personally with your physical well-being. And then we have an emotional well-being, we have spiritual well-being, and we have a question about stress. So just go ahead and answer those questions. okay with you, in lieu of an official break, if you need to break, we're gonna break for lunch at 12:30, but if you need to take a break, because we got bathrooms like 2 seconds down the hall, just go ahead and do so. And then we'll just continue to flow throughout the morning. Does that sound okay? And so if you need to take a break, just please go ahead and do that. And we'll take another couple minutes to finish the questions. And also on the right, as you finish the self-assessment form, there's also the ACE study. And those are the questions that were part of that ACE study that the higher the number, the more at risk people are for illness, disease, addictions. Yes. 1 through 7.
1 to 7.
1 through 7.
So also realizing that how you are today might not be how you're feeling next week, and that's okay. So just where you are right now. So when you finish, if you just put your hand up, and then you put it back down. But if you're finished, go ahead and put your hand up. And finish both the self-assessment and then the ACE study, which is the black and white sheet on the right-hand side. So how many people are done? Okay, so we just... And as you finish, just raise your hand and we'll keep track. Thanks.
about where I wish I would be, right? As we move forward throughout the day. So let's just wake up and let's connect our mind and body, all right? So just tap, 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 tap on our face, our arms. You know, we kind of forget that we have a body sometimes until it collapses on us, you know, or until we're in the doctor, or we have so many aches and pains, we don't know what to do. So the more that we become aware constantly of our body and how it's feeling and sensing, you know, then we can get to the doctor on time. Then we can do something about it at time. So staying in the moment, staying present, and keeping connected to our bodies is always important, and that's a great way to kind of wake up and stretch and get moving. All right.
Did that help to kind of get you awake? All right, so now we're going to have you stand up. I'm just kidding. Paul actually is going to lead us in our first exercise after she gives us a little more information.
Okay. So what is stress? Stress has, you have a great booklet, Easing Your Stress. I created it with a host of awesome people last year under contract with the Florida Developmental Disabilities Council. And I want to thank them for giving me the opportunity to learn all about stress, but also to contribute, you know, to families who, caregivers who have a member in their family with a disability. So two important things about stress. It's harmful to your goals. So stress, we get stressed if we feel that our goals, whatever that is, are being compromised in some way. And also that we have little control over it. So those two things have to be in place for us to experience stress. That's usually what it takes, right? We feel compromised in some way, and we feel that we have little control over the situation. So stress really is the killer, you know, the quality of life sabotager. Stress is what is going to, is the issue for this time period of what it is that we need to resolve, we need to look at, we need to understand, and we need to bring that, reduce it in our lives. And we can only do that by understanding more about it. So all kinds of, the serotonin, the good, happy levels, hormones go down. We get the bad cholesterol, muscle loss, memory loss, rigid thinking, we have anxiety, depression. All of these things are directly related to stress. Insomnia, diminished sexual desire, all of that. So there's a lot of research about caregiver stress. When asked, caregivers were asked, 88% said they have physical fatigue and emotional stress. 63% reported to have poor eating habits and worse exercise habits. How many people in this room feel that they have poor eating habits? Right, okay. Yeah. How about worse exercise habits? Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, we're it, right? Here we are. Sample, 46 have more caregiving responsibilities than they can seem to manage. How many people feel like that? I've got more on my plate than I feel that I can manage. That perception all by itself is a huge stressor, right? Because you feel that you have little control over your life, and by definition, that's a stressor. And what you want out of your life, you're not able to obtain it. So those are the two factors. And 25% meet criteria for major depression. Because of all of those things, poor eating there's so much that we know about quality foods and increasing our quality foods that increase our well-being, our levels of depression. Yes?
Well, when they hire somebody to come in and cook really great meals that are more nutritious in the time that it involves, then I'll probably eat better and everything else. There's just so much time in the day with all that's on our plate. So it's not that we don't want to, it's just that there sometimes isn't enough time to do it that way.
Yeah. Yes.
All the bad food tastes good and it's easy to eat.
All the bad food tastes good and it's easy to eat, right? So we know that not only the drug industry has taken over our lives, but, you know, so is the food industry. They put billions of dollars into making that chip so that your brain tells you you can't live without another one, right? So we're hooked into that. I would say I started to do one simple thing, a couple simple things, and I'll just pass it on quickly. But I do a protein shake in the morning, and I use kale. I try to buy organic. It's kind of expensive, but just put in some kale, strawberry, banana, and there's this new awesome thing called maca, M-A-C-A, and it's a powder, and you put in half a teaspoon, and it's like the energy food. And that is an awesome breakfast. And before that, I used to have yogurt and granola and blah, blah, blah. Before that, I used to have a piece of toast. So I see my development, right? Toast has no value in it at all, none at all. So there are simple things that you can do that really boost your energy. There's protein shakes you can take and make on the way during the day, increase that protein. Yes?
What do you put in a shake besides kale?
Kale, strawberries, a banana, and a maca powder, almond milk for liquid, or coconut water for liquid, and water.
What's maca powder?
It's a considered superfood from Peru, and it's a powder, and you can get it M-A-C-A. Hey, Peru, like a Whole Foods or buy online, that kind of thing.
Is that where you get the protein out of the maca, or are you using
Yeah.
protein powder?
Well, the protein and the
So it's in addition to a protein powder.
right. Yeah, and I include a protein powder, yeah. So stress response, and this is why stress, what it's doing to us, we have an amygdala, and the amygdala is your fear, fight, or flight. So it's just what triggers, right? The heart rate goes up, right? You go, right? Do that, and it's like boom, 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 right? When that happens, it is because your amygdala is sensing something, that there is a threat. So it releases all of this cortisol, and it releases it, and it's like it washes over the part of your brain that's the hippocampus, a tiny horseshoe piece of brain, old part of your brain, limbic brain. But the thing is that the hippocampus does what? It stores short-term memory. So those people living in chronic stress, continual stress, it's like a acid wash over the hippocampus all the time. And it's hard to store within that short-term memory. So that is that memory loss, that's difficult to pay attention, to focus, to learn. So then you don't do well and you fall behind, and then that's the depression, and all of that begins to snowball. It's all interrelated. So it washes over short-term, and it's hard to form new memory. Ultimately, it weakens the immune system. So colds, flus, not feeling well, draggy, anything comes into the office, you're the one who gets it. But then it damages the endocrine system, and that is where all of your hormones, that's every organ in your body. So we need to be interested in ways in which we can reduce stress. And what we want to do today is to talk about one of those ways. And maybe it's different, just open you to possibilities, that it being very different than what you think it to be. And one of the things we're going to talk about is meditation. There's very different forms about it, different ways to do it, and we're going to talk about that today. So what is meditation? Well, it's really a dedicated time and process. It's just setting time, and it's a process in which you relax the mind and body. So if your mind is relaxed, it's not being triggered, right? There's no fear of flight. And all of those, that monkey brain, that constant thinking brain, is relaxed. You're not worrying. You're not conjuring up the next terrible thing that could happen if you decide to do A, B, or C, right? How many people have a brain that runs away on them? Like, wow, I come up with a great idea. I have fallen downstairs, broken my nose, embarrassed myself in front of thousands of people. I mean, immediate. That is where my mind goes. It's immediate. And I still do it. I mean, I've done all kinds of work, I still do it. Now, I just have taken control over that monkey brain, because I was like, oh, that's not me. Are you silly? Like, you know, that's really a silly thought. That's not going to happen. Because that monkey brain is not you. And the only way to really, that I have come to understand that, to experience that, is through meditation. Because in meditation, as Judy knows, we quiet that mind, and we get to experience a part of ourselves that we don't experience otherwise. And we realize that that monkey brain, fear, worry, past, conjure up, regret, isn't us. It's our mind. It's not who we are. We think our mind is who we are. I mean, that's where we get lost. If we have those two things tied together, my mind is who I am, right? That's not who we are. We're like we're awesome with limited possibilities. It's like limitless possibilities in our lives. And that's just our fear. It's good when, you know, we're going to be attacked or whatever. That brain's good. It's served us over time, right? It's served us as we've evolved over time. We've needed that. We need fear, that amygdala, to take charge. But in today's world, with so much stress, with so much things that we have little control over, it's taking charge all the time. Not when we're really going to be attacked, but all the time. And our cortisol is flowing all the time. And we can't turn it off. And it's now more important than ever that we turn it off. So we go inward using our breath. And in kind of American traditional viewpoint, our breath is air, and we understand what air is, and it kind of goes in, and we need air to breathe. In Eastern medicine, air is something very different. It has a quality much beyond just the breath, just the air itself. It is life. It's considered the life force, which is really what it is. It is our life force. We can't live without it. In quantum physics, there's this whole new science. It's understanding that we're swimming in something that's much different than air, but rather this quality in which we're breathing in, this substance, this consciousness that we're breathing in, and it has the ability, when we recognize it and we shift our beliefs and we know that it becomes true, of transforming our lives, of helping us create what it is that we want. But breath in meditation, in addition to that, helps us, well, meditation helps us do these things. So we follow our breath, we track our breath, because of the importance of breath itself, prana, you've heard the word prana, and as we do that, our mind relaxes. We're thinking about our breath, and we're not thinking about dinner and yesterday and what we should do and our and all of our caretaking for women in the room. So, does meditation work? How many people meditate? How many people have a breathing, a meditation? Okay, good. How many people have heard about it? How many people are like curious and really want to try it if they haven't? Okay, so this is why you would want to try it. Okay, this is why, because it reduces this thing called blood lactate, which is a marker for stress in the body. And it's the only kind of activity that does that. It increases the calming hormones, so it's releasing calming hormones. It decreases the cortisol, because if you're not in fight or flight, you're not having cortisol and your adrenals going wild, and you know, so it reduces that. But really what we all are after is like youth, right? The whole fountain of youth. It was in Florida. And that's the DHEA, and it increases the release of that, of the youth-related DHEA. So if you have any sleeping problems, anybody here with sleeping problems? Right? Mine was definitely last night with the anxiety of today, right? Toss, turn, toss, turn. Judy too. Yeah, 75% of people who take a dedicated time to meditate no longer are insomniacs. You know, insomnia is severe. I mean, people go to hospitals, have all these brain studies, all this, and the sleep apnea, right? Boom! How about meditating? Boom, 75%. Frequency of headaches. Memory controls weight. So, memory, great. We know why. Because you're not washing your hippocampus with cortisol. Your memory is going to increase. And all of this, whatever you've got now, know that you can erase the effects of whatever you've done to yourself. Our bodies are incredibly grateful for anything that we do to it. You know, it's incredible. Our bodies yearn for well-being, for balance. And it extends life. So transcendental meditation is one form, and that's within that, with people doing transcendental meditation, meditators, non-meditators, 12 years longer. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of studies. One that would be of significance here for caregivers of people with disabilities, of autism. Mothers who had a child with autism became Mindful Meditation by John Kabat-Zinn. It's all over, and started in Massachusetts General Hospital, medical school. Now is at all major universities, law schools, physical therapy, medical schools, they're all teaching it. It's a 7-week course. Community programs are teaching it. It's all over. Lots of research done on it because it's been, you know, serious. It's a program. It's a something. We'll talk about what it is. But what they found for parents is that their children weren't meditating. I think it's a grand idea. I'm teaching it in Miami, meditation for youth with disabilities. Their children had less upset, less explosive outbursts. Their marriage was better. There was more harmony in the home. And that was one person. That was one person in the family. And how, particularly women, if we are in that caregiver role, the impact that we have is tremendous. So when we make a change within our lives, it automatically changes everything and everybody around us. So it was awesome. Mothers meditated, and there was less trips to therapies. There's less cognitive behavior therapy, right? Because we perceive who knows what the mechanism is. We can just contemplate what it is, right? But it happened. So this is the basic meditation, okay? It's very simple. It's not all, you allow, let's say 10 minutes. You can even allow 5 to begin with. You can allow 3, and we're gonna do all of those today. You go to a private place, preferably, right? You sit down in something that's comfortable, whatever it is. You have a beginning, you know, it could be any type of beginning. If you're, you know, God, bow down, higher self, bow down. I'm beginning today my meditation. But whatever it is, you have a beginning and an end. It's just is a way good to do life, right? So you do a formal beginning. It could be just one word. You keep your back straight. That is your neural system. What you're impacting is your neural system, and that's within your back. And you want to keep that straight. Calm your mind by repeating a word. So what's the traditional word? You think of right? Or it's a mantra, exactly. And it can be any word. I am awesome, right? I am love. Love, 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 you know? Beauty, 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 harmony, peace, any word that comes to mind. Your name, your child's name, your husband. By what happens by repeating a word? By repeating the word, you're not saying anything else, right? So it's calming the mind and it's bringing it into a centered place. Judy.
Indigenous people use a drum, so you don't even have to have a word. You can just concentrate on the sound of a drum. There's lots of CDs out there with meditation music, anywhere from synthesizers to drumming. Drumming is great because it totally gets out of your mind because there are no words. It's putting you into an altered state of vibration that's beyond words. So I really like the drum.
Yeah. And once you start experimenting, you find all kinds of things. Yes.
there are DVDs for children to help teach them how to meditate, and CDs, and for adults too, that you put it on your computer, your laptop, and it walks the child into meditation and teaches them how to meditate. It does their breathing exercises and all that. My neuropsychologist provided them, because we all do meditation. But also there's this place up in Massachusetts that you can go to, starts with K. I forget what it's called, it's up in the Borough Shores.
Kripalu.
Right, and they sell all those CDs and DVDs.
Well, thank you for bringing that up, because we have a gift to share with you later regarding that. But we'll keep that a secret for now, but there is something like that that Paul and I created that will be a gift for you later. So you adopt a calm, neutral mind, and that becomes the key element. Your neutral mind is that all the thoughts coming in, yeah, that's an interesting thought, and they float away. Is that part of it? Yeah? So, oh, yeah, I will never stop thinking. I never stop thinking. I have a friend who can stop thinking. I mean, she can stop. Can you stop thinking? Or do you float straight in?
I go to someplace.
Yeah.
I have a place to go.
Okay, awesome. Well, we're going to get back with you later today, because we want to hear more. But what you do is you become a neutral, which means I am not that thought. And that's why you can carry that neutrality out with you all day long. Oh, that was an interesting thought. Boom, boom, there it goes. Come back, oh, there's my breath. Oh, an interesting thought. It's like a cloud goes by, and you adopt this calm, neutral place. So all your thoughts, you're an observer. You're outside of yourself. Isn't that great? Because you just like step outside of yourself and you're looking down on yourself instead of in the minutia of like, you're outside of yourself and you're just looking down and you go, that's an interesting thought. Okay, yeah. Boom. Yeah. Back to breath. One of the things that I do, because I have a really active monkey mind, I have to give my mind a job. Like, you go over there and make sure I'm safe, protect the room, and make sure you be vigilant. I'm going to be over here. And when I give my mind a job, wow, does it do a good job? But if I don't give it a job, it's just like hammering on me, and I can't let go. Does anyone else have a mind that they can put aside and create a place for it to go? If not, try it, because it really works. Give it a job. We like jobs. So let's just do it, okay? Number one, simply being. Okay, so we're gonna do it. So it means like if you have things on your lap, you can put them on the floor. Relax. Simply being is an application. So that's just one. There's many, but it's an application. I use it on my iPhone. 5 minutes, I can hear the voice. I can do 10 minutes, I can do 20. It's great at night when I can't sleep. I just do the sounds of the ocean. It's like, or I choose the sounds of the birds, So it's an app, 99 cents. And it's also a reminder. And then you can set, if you have those alarms on your phone, you set your alarm at certain times of the day that you just take a 5-minute break. So there's lots of technology, as alluded to before. So the soft belly breathing, if you want to take out your book and just take a glance just so that you can go back to it, is on page 10. Okay. So just know that it's on page 10. There's the picture of the woman in the blue blouse. And so now we'll just go ahead and do it. So put your hands on your stomach, your belly. Okay, we're going to breathe in through our nose. Come to a centered place. In your eyes inside your head, if it helps, it can look at your in between your eyebrows. It helps. It kind of like gives you a centered place. Feet on the floor. Relax. Gently close your eyes. Breathe in through your nose. And feel your abdomen expand out with the breath coming in. And count to the count of 5, and then we're going to hold it. 1,
through your mouth. So we're going to go in through our nose and out through our mouth. And the exhale is going to be a little bit longer than the inhale. So we'll count up to 5 inhaling and feel the belly expand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll hold. 1, 2, 3, and out. Good. In with the in-breath, feel the belly expand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We hold. 1, 2, 3. And with the out through the mouth. And you might even kind of blow out to the point that your abdomen goes in. You're like, because as we empty things out, we can bring in the new. So breathe in again through the nose, nostrils. And just feel the quality of the air, and feeling it go down your throat, down and into your lungs. Expand the belly. Hold. 1, 2, 3. And blow out through the mouth. And then just really release it deep. And again, in through the nose. 5. Hold. 1, 2, 3. And out. And one more time. Breathing in. Hold. And breathing out through the nose. Great. Good. All right. Gently open your eyes. Let's do one more and then we're open. So let's do the complete breath. This you can do any time. It's very simple. What it does is it oxygenates the body. Judy was reminding me yesterday about how we all shallow breathe. You know, we're like shallow breathers. Our brain loves what? Our brain, the body loves oxygen, right? And we're not giving it oxygen all day long. We're cutting it out, cutting it short. So, complete breath. It's very similar. We're going to feel as we breathe in through the nostrils, the lower abdomen, and then up into the lungs, and even up into the upper lungs. We're going to just really breathe in complete breath, and then we'll release through the mouth. So it's similar, but we're even going to breathe in more. So don't need the hands on belly. Just relax. And breathing in, feeling the air fill the abdomen. And then keep breathing and feel it. Breathe into the lower lung. Keep breathing into the upper lung. Almost like you're not going to be able to breathe at all and you can't run out of oxygen. And hold it for 1, 2, 3, and release. Release fully. So when you release fully, your abdomen comes in. That's a complete breath. Yeah, you can do that anytime. So what we'd like you to do is turn to your partner and share your experience with a person sitting next to you. With a person sitting next to you, just what came up for you? How do you feel? How do you feel in your body? Do you feel different? Yes? No? Go ahead and share the experience.
Have a partner. If you don't have a partner, find someone in the room. Raise your hand if you don't have a partner. You come around this way. You share together.
actually more involved in it right away, right? What? I'm actually looking to become an official mentor for them for fall and spring, my junior year, after the summer's over. I'm volunteering in all these summer events, trying to build exposure. What's college for you? Little stud? You a senior now? Nice.
Huh? Yes, 4, but 12:30. An hour break. Yeah, and he's done it at 4, and now it's going to wake up. Basically, then we're not here, we're going out there.
Can I go do that for lunch to get things done faster? But then you'll be hungry. Can I? Alright. Now, I want you to hear me out before you finish. He's already like, no. And I know that.
All right, so let's come back. Who would like to share their experience?
No, it's not.
Do you have a question?
That's all I need.
No, it's because I'm not in charge of it, so I can't give you permission to go down there.
So we
and
can
start
get the
doing it.
attention back in the front of the room, please.
Finish up.
But
Thank you.
I think they're going to be going down around.
Take a few minutes to,
Something like 3,
just a few
3:30,
seconds to
start
finish up, and let's put our attention back to the front of the room.
You did fill it up, yeah. That's what you fill up.
Hey,
All right. So we'd like to hear from who would like to share about their experience?
let's get everybody's attention. Remember our what do you call it? Our communication device. Okay, so we have someone who wants to share. Good sharing, by the way.
Yes, I thought it was relaxing because I was feeling kind of tense in my neck and everything. So it was really nice, and I want to practice it.
Who else? Who would like to share? James? We got in the way back.
I kind of felt relaxed too, as a person whose disability often requires them to be under stress in order to function, because sometimes if I'm relaxed, I can do things that can upset people or bother people. If at any time anyone who knows me, I've ever done that due to being relaxed, I apologize. It's a part of my disability. But it did feel relaxing, and I also, I'm a recorderist. I play the recorder. Who here ever had to learn that in school? And one thing I have often done with the people with some of the people that I care for and involved with is I have created adaptations of songs to play on the recorder to help the meditation process.
So do you meditate regularly, James? Is that?
I meditate regularly to my recorder play.
Yeah. Right.
My music.
Yes. Excellent.
Anybody else?
I was just going to say, there was one comment that you made in that racing, you know, when your mind races. I hate that. I want it to go away. I want it to go away because I get it all the time. And it's like people are talking to me, and I'm like, I have no idea what they're saying. No, is that what you're looking for? Yeah. I would do anything to.
So practice this meditation and give the mind a job. And if you want, I'm happy to talk with you more on a break or something about that. Okay?
A couple more up here, Judy. How do we get? Bill Donahue, for those of us who are older. Remember Phil Donahue?
Okay, we'll start right here.
I just found, and I do meditate fairly regularly, but I found that I've tried a lot of different methods, and I found one that, you know, was just worked for me personally, and it probably won't work for a lot of other people, but it worked for me, and I imagine it as kind of a column down my spine, as the tree of life kind of thing, and that's the one that I use, and it really helps me because it grounds me, and it helps me move outside of myself sometimes, and have the experience of, you know, kind of putting that mind thing away, that what you call the mind monkey away, and just seeing things a little bit differently, and it really, really does help me at other times. And it's interesting because that's the foundational meditation that I do when I'm stressed or whatever. I use that one, and there's other ones that I'll do, but that's the foundation one, the one that I just imagine.
So could you describe it a little bit? So you imagine you are the tree? Is that?
I imagine that there's kind of a hollow area in my spine, and there's a light at the bottom. And the light at the bottom of my spine, when I breathe in, kind of a little bit different than some of the others, but when I breathe in, that light goes up slowly and kind of lights the inside me, whether it's, whether it's behind the heart or going up to the neck or up to the brain. And I kind of take it slowly, and I watch that little light go up through that hollow area, and it fills it. And as move along with the meditation, then I imagine that roots grow out from the bottom of that light, and those are the grounding roots that help me kind of stay where I need to be. And then there's the root, and then there's kind of like the branches of the tree move up from the brain, from the solar plexus of the brain, and just kind of, you know, moves you into a different realm sometimes. So it works for me, and like I said, it probably won't work for everybody, but it fits me well, and it is my foundational meditation.
Thank you very much for sharing that. Yeah. How many, anyone inspired with that? Does that speak to you? It's, you know, it's finding the one that speaks to you, you know, and that's the road of discovery. Being curious. You start with this because Paula said so. You know, and pretty soon you're the tree, you're the this, you're the that, the light comes in, you know, and it is that grounding, you know, that light comes in. We have a whole energy body, that to the chakras, and many people experience that light coming in and all the way down, all the way out, grounding us into Mother Earth. Father, Son, right? Mother Earth, just grounding us in both directions. We want to be reaching up to the stars and our roots down into Mother Earth. And using that is an awesome, you know, kind of reaching and grounding point. We're always reaching, that yearning, that reaching, you know, the heavens and all that we know that is there for us in the heavens. And then grounding us into that Mother Earth, that nurturance of Mother Earth. Just think of Mother Earth as just this nurturing, feminine force, and that we want to ground ourselves in that, whether we're male or female, we ground ourselves in that. Awesome, thank you.
Hi, before I even heard of meditation, our daughter, who's now 31, when she was 1.5, we took her to a place in Philadelphia that I was explaining to her, called the Institutes for the Achievement of Human Potential. By that time, 30 years ago, it had been an experiential place for 30 years. One of the most important exercises was breathing. She had to breathe into this bag. And this vicious breathing opened for a certain number of seconds. It was 1.5 minutes to begin with, etc. Christina was grounding. She wouldn't talk or babble. And within a few months, a few long months, but a few months, she started talking. I also exaggerate quite a bit on things. So as soon as I could, she was swimming 3 hours a day, before lunch, before breakfast, before lunch, or before dinner. And I did not have a pool. This was in Miami. So breathing changed her completely. And sometimes I wish we would have stayed, we couldn't, with that program. It's a program that you only visit for a week at a time. And you're familiar with it. She may be able, all I can say is good things about it. And it helped. And breathing was 57 times a day. And she was one of the ones that had the least because they knew everything else I had. So they examined the family. They say, this is the lady that has to do all these other things. So Christina's only going to have 57. There were children there who had to do it 90 some odd times a day. It's 1 minute, 7 minutes interval, and you had to only stop while they were swallowing food. The rest of the time, or sleeping.
So what was the actual breathing? What was
She had to breathe in a bag.
Oh, in the bag. Got
With a
it.
little tube. So, and what it does, and I consulted a physician, is when you are breathing, when you're lacking oxygen, you try to breathe in deeper. When the air is full of oxygen, you breathe deeper and deeper. It expands your lungs. It also, there's a mechanism in the body that when you lack oxygen, your body immediately pushes all the blood to the brain to make sure that your brain, which is what keeps you alive, stays well. Well, this also expands the veins in your brain. And if you repeat this, it's like any exercise. It expands.
Thank you very much for sharing. Yes. Another
I was going to say on what she's speaking about. There are CDs that do different breathing techniques, and it teaches you how to you do breathing through the nose, through the mouth, four count in, 6 count out, different exercises to work towards the meditation. But also what she's talking about doing the breathing, it is found that doing the breathing different ways, you can improve the speech. Sarah Johnson is a speech therapy program named after the founder. For $50 you buy a bag of whistles and tutors, and you suck in, you blow out, and you exercise the muscles in the face and the mouth through breathing, but it's done with whistles that are in the shapes of cars and boats and all different things. And so the breathing technique that we're talking about and how she was speaking is there today in a speech therapy. It's called oral motor therapy, but it is again something that it's alternative, and school districts fight it, and yet it improves a child's communication and abilities tremendously. Right?
You guys are
Thank
so
you.
informed. Awesome. The next one we're going to try is from this awesome book. If anyone wants to dig into really the mechanisms of meditation, it's Dr. Khalsa is an anesthesiologist, but also a yogi, and for his own personal reasons, he began to meditate, became a yogi, and now I've seen him speak to addiction as one of his areas where he's very interested in helping people with addiction. He created his own medicine where he combines particular poses with different chants for different things. So if you want to take a look at break, if you have a particular something, does he have something for diabetes? We can look in here, if he has something for whatever. He has about 25 different medical conditions, illnesses, and he's done his own research on it. He's developed his own methods. I recently had problems with my thyroid, which led me to look at which one of his chants would help me with my thyroid, and it happens to be the chant that is for habituation or addiction. And I had to think about that for my own, whatever. But I think I'm addicted. If I have an addiction, which I do, is to worry, so I'm addicted to worry. But it is, we can be addicted to many things. We think of alcohol, drugs, but then we've got, a 500% increase of people on prescription drugs, so there's those addictions going on. But also addiction to ourself, addiction to our own old stories about who we are, addiction to worry, addiction to shopping. We have all kinds of addictions we don't think about in that traditional way, right? So this one happened to be about the thyroid. It helps because what happens when you chant, you stimulate, and you're going to experience in a minute, so let me tell you ahead of time, I like it to do it that way, is that you stimulate your pituitary gland, and your pituitary gland is right here, but in the middle of your brain. And it's the most important gland in your body, because the pituitary gland is either sending hormones directly to your organs, or is activating your endocrine system that then sends hormones to the rest of your body. So one of those is our thyroid. Our gonads is our sexual desire. So all of those are affected through our pituitary gland. So we're going to try this chant that is for addiction, and then you can experience other chants, because you're going to feel the vibration inside your mouth and also inside your head. Your mouth also has 64 different points of reflexology that are stimulated first, are like nerve endings in a way. Our nerve centers are, energy points within our body. Acupuncture, reflexology, that whole understanding, Eastern medicine understanding of our body. It's a real science. It's really true. That understanding from ancient is now understood in our traditional medicine as real. There's no question about it, right? So we have all of this inside of our mouth, and so when we chant or make sounds, it's all stimulating. It stimulates our pituitary gland, and it creates this hormonal release that we've already talked about some of the benefits of it. So this is Satanama. But what we do is we close and kind of lock our molars in the back to make the sound. So we'll do it with our eyes open, just as an experience. So, well, yeah, and then you say it inside your head, so it's and now put your thumbs on your temples, and your hands are closed. Exactly. Okay, and now we'll just go when you get tired, because my arms get tired, not my chanting. And then inside mine goes to your third eye. You're in the middle of your eyebrows. If you focus there, it keeps your mind busy. Okay, so here we go. Shoulders, relax, move your head, your neck, and feel your body, get back into your body. So, yeah. Anybody Anybody would like to share about their experience? How do you feel? Just stay in touch with your body. Is your head still tingling? Maybe parts of your body is more relaxed. Maybe you're more aware of just your breath coming in and out. It was kind of hard to breathe sometimes. You had to figure out how to breathe and do that at the same time. Anybody like to share what the sensation, the experience?
I just felt some tingling in my back, all the way down my back.
Did you feel the vibration in your lips as you were saying that? Anybody feel that vibration in your lips? If you press your tongue to the top of the roof of your mouth or to right behind your teeth, you might feel that vibration. Also, I noticed my belly. Did anyone else notice that your diaphragm moving? And I actually got kind of sore there, feeling like, wow, if I did this, I could actually not do sit-ups. A good job.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So, yeah, sometimes we get messages. Once you begin, you really can get messages from within. You can, set an intention. You need to, you have a question about something, whether you should maybe sell your home, or questions we have in life, decisions. You're at a decision point, and you really can hear messages from within. It is the belief, it's the understanding that we have a higher self that is guiding us. We spoke about angels earlier, that those people that come into our lives, sometimes they're real people in flesh and blood. Other times, my belief of the world, there's guides and loved ones on the other side that are always there for us. We also have our own higher self. There's aspect of ourselves that lives eternally. That is our own self that lives eternally. And through meditation, through the stillness within, that's the voice that we can hear. I have a good friend, child with a disability. She's on the second floor of her townhouse, 10 at night, and she hears inside her head, door, screaming inside her head. Nobody outside, she was there alone with her son, who's 14. She goes downstairs, and he had opened the front door, and it was wide open. It was 10 o'clock in Miami. Now, what was that, right? What was that, right? So that's our own inner awareness, our own inner voice, our own guide that can speak to us. We can call that by 1,000 different names, right? And it still remains nameless. But it is that source from within. Some people believe, as I do, that we are connected with the divine, and it's that continual sourcing from within that's connected to that higher power. And that higher power connection is always there for us. And it is through quietness. And that's what meditation is, a form of stillness and quietness. And when we do get into that place, we receive awesome guidance. I created, it kind of went, I don't know what happened, but for 3 months, I had this morning practice. It's called a great book, The Artist's Way. And one thing you do with this program is you get up and you write every morning. So I got up and write every morning. It was like all of this stuff was, it's like journaling, And then it became kind of more than journaling. And I thought, well, let me, I've got to create this workshop for Saturday. Let's, I tell you, the stuff just came. I'm going to do this meditation. Oh, here's a poem. Oh, I want to do the... it was just like, wow. Where did that come from? Right? It was easy. It was in the flow. It was just like that. So I would sit there for an hour in my meditation space and do what really ultimately was going to be my work out, in struggle and, linear thinking. And instead, it just came. I just asked for guidance during that meditation time, that quiet time, and it just came. But to get there, I mean, sometimes we don't. My friend Janet heard doors screaming. She was also on a highway one time. A car was coming this way. She heard inside of her head, "Watch out." You know, she didn't see the car. She just heard it, right? Those things can always happen to us, right? But to kind of get more into that, more of a flow, more information, more at ease, it really takes a practice of coming to that stillness, because we have to be still to listen. And it's just, and that's the value, that's the beauty, in addition to all the physical, mental, emotional benefits of it, and the stress reduction of it that we've shared with you, in order to, you know, kind of bring you into the fold. We also, to be in, you know, right consciousness with ourselves, we want to share also that the other benefit of that, if one goes there as of interest of that, is that you do feel this higher power and this higher connection. And when you do, you do begin to live in a place, coming back to earlier conversation, of fearlessness. Because what is there to fear? We have everything that we always need. We are being guided at all times. And you feel that guidance all the time. Or you have a way to feel that guidance when you need it. If you get out of sync, you have a place to go to receive that. And then you begin to take more risks, to live on that edge, as Judy talked about. Because you know that everything is possible and that you're always guided, and you always have a source of infinite wisdom. And it's not outside of ourselves. The wizard's faith, you know, that outside source. You know, it's the divine connection, it's that source we source from and that lives within us, that brings that truth to us, that informs us about who we are and what's next for us and what's in our highest good. Miss Judy.
Can I tell a story? You guys want to hear a story?
Yeah.
Good. Well, as I said, I met Paula in Peru. And I first went to Peru in 2003. And had many journeys there, trekked a few mountains, went to the Amazon. And I went again in 2010, which is where I met Paula. I went again in 2011, and I stayed 3 months, over 3 months in Peru, and traveled to 7 countries. And just before I went to Peru, I sold my house. I gave away everything. I gave away my 150 pairs of shoes. For those, that's why she was saying shopping, and she was pointing to me. And I wanted to shift and change. I loved my job, but I was at a place in my life where I was ready to do something different. I've always loved to create, and I was a potter. I had a pottery studio. I also sold that. So when I came back from Peru, I thought, what in the heck am I going to do now? I'm 60. I had just turned 60 that January 2012. And I thought, I really want to do something different, and I want to keep doing what I love. So maybe I'm going to create something. Maybe I'm going to, you know, go back into a pottery studio or something. I went to a course in Utah. I was living in Arizona after I got back from Peru. And I went to a course to learn how to present. It helped me a little bit. Anyway, and it was winter. It was March, and I decided to stay a couple days and ski. And I've skied since I was 14, so I knew how to ski. But I got up on the top of this mountain, and I fell down and broke my leg, the femur. I broke my leg, and boy, did that stop me in my tracks.
It was 100% broken.
Yeah, it was 100% broken. I was here, my leg was there. And it was the most painful thing I've ever experienced in my life, other than my 40 years of depression, but which I healed from. But what that did was give me an opportunity. I literally was stopped in my tracks. This was my tornado. And I was asking, what am I going to do next? Well, now I had to heal. So I was in a meditation, And really, what all could I do? I could get myself up to the bathroom and back to my bed, and that was about it. I had to have people cook for me, and because I couldn't do anything. And so I was in meditation a lot. And one of the things that came to me was paint. You don't have to do anything but sit. I went, okay. The last time I painted was in 1986 in LA. I took a oil painting class. So I thought, okay, I'll paint. So I started to paint, and I said, well, what should I paint? Well, you traveled to Peru for, 9 years on and off. Why don't you paint something from Peru? So I had tons of photographs, and maybe somewhere in my mind I had an intention to paint some of these beautiful images and not just have photographs that I could hang on the wall. So I started to paint. And actually, I had gotten in a meditation to do this one painting before my accident. So it was like it was setting me up, because it gave me something to do. I started painting on March 10th. I broke my leg on March 20th, and I had just started this painting. It was in Arizona. My boyfriend brought it up to me, and I started painting. It took me 4 months to finish that painting, but they were 4 medicine people that Paula and I have worked with in Peru, and I felt like they were talking to me. I could feel my leg knitting together. This was a 4-month meditation of painting. I wove the textiles. They sat and they talked with me. And sometimes I would just be crying because they were so sweet and so kind. And I felt myself healing. After 1 month, I went back and got x-rays on my leg, and the doctor said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. I've never seen anything like this at your age, to be your bones knitting together that fast. So when you step in, I realized I need to keep doing this. And I finished the first painting in July, and I had a message to paint 9 more. I have finished 9 of 10 paintings as of December 31st of 2012. And I have a website, and none of that was really in my reality, but it was that stopping me in my tracks, having to do a meditation, and I felt like for the whole year of 2012, once my leg broke, that I was in meditation. They spoke to me. The paintings that I painted are magical to me. They're like alive. And I had never really painted before, except for, with tempera paints and that kind of thing. So what came out of that was huge. And I do have a card if you want to look at my website. It's judylnelson.com. And I don't have all the paintings there. And this week, while I'm here in Florida, my first show is being hung in Salt Lake City. So that's what comes out of it. Stopping, when it could have been such a horrible thing. I could have gone back into my depression. I had lots of choices. But the choice that I made was to heal. All levels, not just my physical, but my mental. Learn something about myself, my spirit, the spirit of the people that I worked with for 9 or 10 years. Blessings, blessings, blessings. I feel absolutely grateful for the ball. And so that's my story. Thank you. Thank you.
Because I haven't heard as much of Peru, but I do know the way in Spain.
The Camino?
Santiago, are you familiar?
Yeah.
Is it something similar?
In a way, yeah. I mean, it's a prayerful walk, and when you're walking with the medicine people in Peru, every step of their everything that they do is gratitude. And they have, in one of my paintings, they have these little pouches with coca leaves. I saw someone who said they were from Peru. And so they take these coca leaves, 3 of them, and they blow their prayers of gratitude into these coca leaves. And you'll see them in my paintings. They blow their intention, their to walk in safety and in beauty, and thank you to the Mother Earth, and thank you for the sun above. And they'll stick it under a rock all along the path as they're walking.
So you do walk with guidance?
Yes.
With the medicine? You you don't walk like insane, you walk in a group.
Okay, correct.
Yes.
It's different.
You
Yes.
could take Journey on the Inca Trail and go on the Inca Trail
Yeah.
in your own, but that wasn't our experience, in your own mindful manner.
Right, right.
But I didn't know that in Spain you would have guidance either.
Some-
You have no choice in Spain, you have choices.
Right, and I think in fact, one of my teachers, one of the things that brought me to my medicine, I'm going to do this really quick, was a teacher when I was 18, and I had, like I said, terrible depression, and she said to me one day, she said, this that you're suffering right now will one day be your strength, your courage. This will be your medicine. And I thought, oh yeah, 18, right, you know. But I heard that again when I was 49 years old and struggling again. And this man, Alberto Viola, who Paul and I studied from, said, what you have struggled is your medicine. You know, take it out into the world, but you've got to let go of it first. So the story isn't living in your body, it's living out here. It's your experience, but you don't have to be informed by that anymore. And so I said, okay, I'm going to pay attention to this time. And that's 49, when I was 49, and it changed my life. It's what took me on my journey. When I finished the Light Body program, I called my teacher, who said to me at 18 that statement, and I said, thank you. Thank you for saving my life. And she said, what are you doing? I said, well, and I explained to her about the Light Body School. 2 months later, she was in Utah, and she was taking the same course. And there are some rites and rituals that you do, and I was able to turn back and say thank you to her and give her the rites of this tradition that we studied. This week, today, she leaves for the Camino, and is now doing the Camino. Yeah, in Spain. Thank you.
And the course is called Light and Body.
The Healing the Light Body School. You can Google that. Light Body School. Light Body School. And that's where we're certified as energy practitioners.
So I want to know how many people are going to be meditating after today? Raise your hand, raise your hand.
Let's
Yay! Woo! So it can be the simple, but there's so many different kinds, and this list could be longer and longer, right? Just begin to Google, just begin to experiment, become curious. It will speak to you. It's something that's going to jump up. Oh, which one do I try? The one that is in front of you. That's the one to try. The one who called out, the one with the image on it that said, ooh, what's that? Woo, that's the one you try. There's no right way. You know, that's the awesome part of this whole kind of worldview, really, is that every way is the right way because it's your way, it's your path. It's what's going to get you to where you need to go. And you listen within, and you follow I say follow the breadcrumbs, you know, it's like following the breadcrumbs. What's next? Oh, I sat next to Susan, and lo and behold, you know, she does da-da-da, and that's only a block from my house, and you know what, I went, and then my old neighbor, I hadn't seen her for 30 years, and there she was, and she sat next to me, and you know, her daughter is now going to school with my son, and that's the magic. That's the magic, because you're listening within, you follow your guidance, and magic starts to happen. So I think we're ready for the magic of lunch.
Yes, I think so. And I just want to add this about meditation. You know, we talked about time, the Tin Man, his heart and time. How do you add another thing to your day? But we're breathing anyway, right? So just breathe deeper. And as you breathe deeper, realize that that breath is a life force that you're choosing to take in just a little bit deeper. So it can be that simple. So you don't have to start with that practice of breathing deeper and taking in life force. And as you breathe out, allow all the negative stuff that really is not serving you in that moment to let it go. It can be that simple. 3 breaths in, 3 breaths out, taking life force energy, and release your negative. Wow, that's better than a cup of coffee, and it's cheaper.
So we ask that you're back at 1:30.
But we have an exercise.
We have awesome when we get back.
And when they
Yeah,
gonna- okay.
yeah. And we're going to draw a little, we're going to go on journey for imagination and breathing. We are going to discover parts of yourself that you didn't know about. You're going to learn some other practices that by the end of the day you go, oh yes, I think I'm going to try that. So come back at 1:30, be in your seats, and that we're ready to go.
Enjoy your lunch. Breathe deep, folks. Enjoy your breath.